How does eyewitness misidentification lead to wrongful convictions, and how can misidentification be stopped? So on the 21st of December 1988, Pan Am Flight 103 was destroyed by a bomb and left no survivors. A Libyan named Al-Mizrahi was convicted of the crime. His conviction was based in large part on the testimony of a single eyewitness, a shopkeeper who identified him as the person who purchased clothing from him that was in the suitcase allegedly packed with the explosive that blew up the plane. And as you can see, the aftermath of the explosion is in that picture. Because of this one eyewitness testimony, everybody had assumed that it was Al-Mizrahi that convicted the crime because they needed someone to blame, and the shopkeeper's testimony was all of the evidence that they had. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and was later released on compassionate grounds. And even though he was found guilty, many believe that Al-Mizrahi was actually a victim of a wrongful conviction, and this led to the research question at hand. And so some statistics. Eyewitness misidentification is the greatest contributing factor to wrongful convictions proven by DNA testing, playing a role in more than 70% of convictions overturned by DNA testing nationwide. This means that mistaken eyewitness identifications contributed to 70% of the more than 350 wrongful convictions in the United States. These statistics came from the Innocence Project, which works to free the wrongfully convicted and fix the corrupted justice system. So this leads to a memory experiment, and when asked to recall the details of the picture on the screen, participants tended to report that the black man was the one who was holding the razor. Clearly, this is not correct and shows that memory is an active process that can be changed to fit with what people expect to happen based on their knowledge and understanding of society. Witnesses have also been known to identify criminals as people they recognize from some other encounter, a process called transference. And so in a bizarre example, an Australian psychologist and memory researcher named Donald Thompson was once himself identified by a rape victim as her attacker. Not only was his alibi airtight, being on live television at the time, but she had mistaken him for the rapist because she saw him on her television screen during the assault. And in addition, all sorts of factors can inhibit our ability to recognize and recall facial detail. For instance, psychologists have found that most people have more difficulty recognizing people of a different race. And this really shows that perception plays a big part in what people think they see versus what they actually see. And so other examples of perception come into play when looking at art. And the 3D pavement art called Dracula, as seen on the screen, done by pavement artist Joe Hill and Max Lowry, it shows a man that seems to be stabbing Dracula in the heart. However, Hill explains in one of his interviews that 3D pavement art only works from one specific angle. This means that it only looks like he is stabbing Dracula from that one angle only. From any other angle, the picture would not come together, and then therefore this would make the eyewitness testimony of the person who took the picture inaccurate. Because anybody else standing at literally any other angle could prove that that man was not murdering Dracula. These sort of mistakes happen in real life misidentification as well. One person seeing something from the perfect angle can often lead to a person being convicted of something they didn't do based on one eyewitness perception. This then leads to the misidentification of the suspect. And so some people might say that the incarceration of a small number of innocent people is a small price to pay for the successful removal of dangerous criminals in society. And even though this may be the hard truth, imagine being in the position of said innocent person. Just like imagine being sentenced to life imprisonment or even death for something that you didn't do or were responsible for. It just goes against people's natural rights just saying that a couple of innocent people is a small price to pay if they can die because of it. So then this begs the question, how can misidentification be prevented? First off, suspect photographs need to be selected that don't bring unreasonable attention to the main police suspect. Secondly, non-suspect photographs, or live lineup members, they need to be selected based on the resemblance to the description given by the eyewitness account and opposed to the resemblance to the main police suspect. However, this could pose a problem depending on how descriptive the eyewitness is. The main suspect still could look at a place which then contradicts the two solutions. And so overall, it's imperative that police investigators follow proper procedures, whether they need to be reformed or not, so that there are less false conviction based on eyewitness misidentification in the future.
Good. Okay, thanks, Rachel. So my question for you is, what information did you need that you weren't able to find or locate, and then how did you go about trying to find that information?
So going back to the artistic example slide, the struggle with that image that I found was I almost felt like I wasn't going to be able to use it because I couldn't find the proper name of it. And to actually like be able to use artwork, you have to be able to cite it correctly and accurately. So that was almost something that I couldn't use because I almost couldn't find the name of it.
And then how did you go about trying to find it?
I just really dug deep and looked into multiple websites about, like, published by Joe Hill and Max Lowry to eventually find the name given in one of their websites.